Hello ladies and gentlemen, Mark Sham here, founder and CEO of Suits and Sneakers. And as has been the tradition for the last few days, it's Women's Month, but I think more than that, it's about showcasing excellence and just people doing amazing things. So with that said, I want to introduce you to Zuki. I always call her the Zookster. Welcome.
Yes, you do.
Do you like or dislike that name? Now's a good time to tell everybody on camera.
I don't dislike it. I mean, it explains our relationship in a way.
It does.
Know, very informal but important. So
Now, let's get straight into it.
yeah,
Who is Zuki and what is the value that you add to the world?
because I told you I hate that question, right? So I would explain myself now by my why statement, right? Because I think it explains my essence and it gives meaning to the work that I do. And I distilled this very recently. You know, when you have that I have arrived statement or moment. So, and I now understand that I have the ability to see who you are or who people are. And my work is centered around leading you back to you. And it sounds very esoterical and philosophical, but it is absolutely the thing that courses through the veins of everything that I do, every relationship that I have, because I think we were so disconnected from our humanness and who we are by the old factory era, where the product being mass produced was the human being. And we lost so much of the human potential by not allowing people to show up in the world as who they are. So the value that I bring hopefully will be measured by the impact received or experienced by the people that come through our business, which is 21st century humans. And we are an education and training business, which is the vehicle that I chose to use to express the work that I do. So it is about shifting the mindset away from education that puts theory inside of you so that you can build skills that will fit into a box that may not represent who you are and ultimately the value that you want to bring. We do it the other way around, where we say, but what is inside you? What are your innate abilities, your innate inclinations, and how can we use modern day business tools to shape that into a value proposition so that you are bringing value no matter what environment you find yourself in.
So you'll notice the very broad smile on my face, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. First, I wanted to have you here because I've known you for a while and I've watched you do the work that you do firsthand.
Yeah.
We sat in the same office for a few years, and I watched firsthand the work that you did with Innovator Gap Year, which I'd love for you to explain a little bit more as soon as I'm done really spreading the love on you. But I really resonate with your work because in many senses, and we were speaking about this off air, we do a very similar thing, but we've got slightly different ways that we go about it. Now, I am a natural lover of anybody who resonates with this thinking, right? We were just talking off air about, you see this gap, you see that the formal education system is not quite doing its thing, and you want to help people, especially young people, become better versions of themselves, which is exactly my mission. And by the way, the esoteric nature of your opening statement resonates because anybody who's done anything beautiful in the world knows exactly why they are doing what they're doing. It is cliched for a reason. So I just love the work that you do, and I get goosebumps hearing you speak, and I've been telling you this for ages. So explain just a little bit more in detail both 21st Century Humans and Innovator Gap Year.
Interestingly, you and I met, I think it was 2017, and I'd just come out of a sabbatical in South America. And the person that introduced us was somebody I met in South America who told me about a guy in Johannesburg. And I'm like, I live in Johannesburg. How do I not know this guy? So that was quite an amazing thing to cross paths with you and sitting desk apart, learning through you, almost validated the work that I do, because it's, you know, always feeling like a misfit in the world and feeling like you don't belong, and yet you know you're carrying a very important message. It was really inspiring for me to meet somebody who actually gets it. So that's our story. But So 21st Century Humans is almost the philosophical umbrella for the business, where we do the thinking that challenges conventional wisdom. It's the meeting of minds with people that want an alternative view of the world by the way we play, the way we work, the way we learn. So for me, it's the brand that builds the new body of knowledge that is coming up every single day. And for me, it's also a combination of ancient wisdoms that are suddenly coming back to the surface. We're going back to basics. We're going back to who we are. So that's what 21st Century Humans does. It holds that body of knowledge. But how we implement it is through the Innovator Gap Year Academy. And we put it in the gap year space because if we're doing the opposite of what mainstream education does, to them it feels counterintuitive. And so to be registered with an institution that is doing the opposite of what you're doing didn't make much sense. So by putting it in the gap year space, it allowed us to experiment and to play with how people want to learn. And we build our content continuously based on what comes up. We have a framework, we have models, we have theory, but a lot of that is glued together and comes to life through what Mark brings to the table when he's in that incubator, because we run that program for about 6 months. And we deliberately work with kind of early or pre-career young adults because their conditioning is not as intense yet as people who have been in their careers for a very long time, where it is more difficult to break those realities and those constructs down. The young people are naturally attuned to this new world, so they resonate with it more. So when you ask them the who am I question, they have a natural curiosity to go into it, and for them it's not burdened by fear. They don't feel like they're letting go, they feel like they're coming into themselves. So it allows us to give birth to the greatest business ideas that are so relevant to today, and what I get to witness through these young people every day as they launch their business ideas is what is possible for the new world of work. New types of jobs, new career pathways, new products and services, and new ways of delivering products and services to people that are not so silo-driven, that force people into linear career pathways and repetitive task-driven work.
Yes.
And I hope that explains
No,
it.
no, that explains it. I mean, this explains it so well. So I want to ask you just one or two practical questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned early stage career people, if I can term it like that. What are the typical ages of the people that are coming through Innovator Gap Year?
So we say it's safe to take the experimentation journey with us from the age of 18 because legally you're an adult, right? And they go up to the age of 26. I think the oldest we've had is about 29. But interestingly, what happened this year with the cohort that came in 2020, there was a young lady who's 15 and had pulled out of mainstream schooling to design her own learning journey. And she joined the Innovator Gap Year journey, and she landed up being just one of the most confident in her business idea and her path. She spoke with so much conviction, and she had maturity way beyond her years. So, and what 2020 has done is almost forced more people into a gap year space, or forced them to reimagine, to think, to recalculate, to redesign, and to ask questions. And so now we're opening the gap year space to anybody that says old way or mainstream is not for me. If you're feeling like that misfit and you suspect there's more, then IGY Academy is the place to do it in a safe, controlled way.
I actually get goosebumps when I hear you speak, and it is for a very biased reason because we're in the same space. And I feel so often, you talk about sometimes feeling like you don't fit in, and yet I think there's so many people around the world who feel like that, so there's a common denominator there.
Isn't that
and I went through
crazy?
that, but yet I'm sitting here and you realize that we are not actually the minority anymore. The majority of people, how they feel and how the way the world is working, there's like a disconnect. And so these programs they are a dime a dozen for good reason.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their different take on it. But what I'm getting at is there's so many people trying to attack this problem. I can speak from my own, is because you're going, I see a disconnect, I see a gap. It's not even about trying to make money. It's about something has moved inside of me to solve this problem. And so this is why I am getting so, okay. I just have to console myself because it really is, it's great to hear. And listen, I really want to encourage you. And for anybody who is watching this, how incredible is she at articulating her thoughts and her points of view? I really see you as a thought leader who is just underusing that special talent, because I think you have such a unique way of explaining things. You are so articulate as a human being. You really need to do that more. I'm pretty sure you'll see in the comment section that people will agree. You know, I wanted to have you on here for a multitude of reasons, but I'm wanting to use this platform to shine a light on women who I think are doing incredible things. And it started just because of Women's Month, but actually I've realized I'm going to kick this on way through. Like, why stop at August? It's silly, right? What is it, why do you think we have a shortage of women both within the entrepreneurship space, and why do we especially have a shortage of black women in the entrepreneurship space, in your view?
So, because I don't have the exact statistics, I can only speak from what I observe. I don't actually believe we have a shortage.
Okay.
Because if you look at rural communities or communities in what would be termed the bottom of the pyramid, where the real hustle happens, there are so many women that are enterprising and almost by nature. And when you exist in a space of lack, you have to be inventive. Go to any taxi rank, go to any street corner. Who are those hustlers that are providing? When you look at the early morning commute, well, this is pre-COVID days, if you look at the early morning commute, it's women that are feeding the people that are going to work. It is women that are providing homes and shelter, giving love, giving space for development and growth and nurturing, exactly what the divine feminine is about. It's just that we may not give it the stage, the attention, and the honor that it deserves, because it looks like survivalist entrepreneurship. But the majority of our country is the survivalist entrepreneur. If you ask me what keeps the economy bubbling under in a productive way, it is exactly those people that are in survival mode.
Listen, for a non-qualified teacher, you're schooling me. Like, you're absolutely spot on correct.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. Yeah. And it actually can show you, even like someone like me who tries to take himself out of the bubble, I live totally in that bubble. I mean, when you explain it to me like that, it's like absolutely spot on.
But even in the corporate sense, right, or the affluent space, there are a lot of enterprising women, but I think the trap that most of us women will fall into is the belief that we have to compete with the masculine. We have to compete with our male counterparts and meet that level or that bar that has been set by a predominantly masculine world. But if women rise to the fact that you can hold the feminine space differently to the way Mark holds his space, there's actually a very beautiful point where we can connect and multiply what we do. I don't need to compete with Mark. We have the same message. I don't need to compete with him. I can only reach so many people. But with Mark, with his different and special way of communicating the same message, we can actually spread that and reach more people. So I think women are underestimated first by themselves and then by society in general, but they are there.
I mean, it's a really poignant point, and thank you for sharing that with me, because it really has put things into perspective. I like to try to keep these things to a specific time frame.
Yes,
so I want to, and the crazy part is that I could honestly talk to you, so we're going to have a round two outside of all of this. Two questions that I have in quick succession.
Right.
Who are the kinds of women that you look up to? And then I'd love for you to share with the audience just some details. How can people get hold of you? And your last almost message to the world, as it were.
Oh, message to the world.
Come on, you got it.
So I look up to women that are okay in their own skin, that don't feel like they have to put up any kind of facade or dress a certain way or cover up or mask anything. Women that are completely grounded in their divine feminine power. And they exist in so many different spheres. But if you ask me who I admire the most, I'm an Oprah Winfrey fan. And the reason I admire Oprah so much is because she was able to live in her truth very early on. And it afforded her the success. So I look up to that and I try to walk in that path. I don't do the same work as Oprah, but I see how she has achieved success by being her. And what was the second question?
Well,
how do people get hold of us?
How do people get hold of you? So you can look straight at your close-up and give people all the details in terms of getting in contact with you.
So as 21st Century Humans, we work with groups, whether they are in corporate or a private group of people, and we work with individuals as well. So I have a brand called Coached by Zuki, so that's where I do the one-on-one direction finding coaching. IGY Academies, where we take the early career young people through a journey of self-discovery. So if you're 18 to 26, that's kind of the vehicle that you will use. And if you're a company, we customize that journey because we like to pinpoint the exact pain that you're trying to address, and we see how we can use our philosophy to help you get to where you want to go. So the website is 21ch.co.za, because 21st Century Humans is that long. So 21ch.co.za. But otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am who I am, Zuki Mzozoyana on LinkedIn, and then we can take it from there.
Zookster, I want to finish how we began. I just want to say thank you for being here, for being part of this. I have loved listening to you today. There's no question I'd love to have you back. So thank you for giving of your time. And I genuinely hope that a lot of you take heed, watch this video twice, and pay it forward by sharing it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.